Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard. Thank you for watching today's Corn Belt Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, the big bomb cyclone came as advertised. It brought the blizzard conditions to parts of the northern and high plains. In the warm sector, it brought the rain and thunderstorms and that threat of severe weather, along with some very windy conditions across almost the entire central United States. That snow, again, it fell across the high plains. The heaviest snow falling across parts of northern Colorado into western Nebraska, central South Dakota, and then central and eastern North Dakota, and then the far northwestern corner of Minnesota getting in on that as well. And then Thursday, we talked about that severe weather threat in parts of the eastern Corn Belt, and it materialized in a couple of different swaths, three really, if you count the south. We saw mostly hail and some wind damage across parts of northeastern Illinois, northern Indiana, southern Michigan, even saw a couple of tornadoes, and then a few more tornadoes as you head to the south along the Ohio River Valley across parts of Kentucky, tornadoes near the Paducah area, getting into southern Indiana as well. And then we transitioned over to a wind threat as those storms carried on into parts of Ohio. This is a photo that I snapped around the Kankakee area in northeast Illinois at the junction of Interstate 57 and Highway 116. Some quarter-sized hail coming from a storm there. And then some tornadoes. Again, I mentioned in Kentucky, this is a strong tornado, a fast-moving tornado. These storms were moving 50 to 60 miles per hour. But there you have it, a few tornadoes there along with this storm system. It brought just about everything to the central United States here. The satellite picture on Friday morning, we're seeing the cloud cover associated with that storm system over mostly the central and eastern Corn Belt beginning to move out of here. We've also got some light precipitation falling in here across parts of Illinois and Indiana, some light, a wintry mix here in Champaign, Illinois. We've seen all of the above. We've seen the rain, some snow, and some sleet, and that's going to continue to move off to the east. So if you live in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, maybe some very light precipitation as we get the weekend started here, or as we end the work week here on Friday. A little bit heavier snow possible across parts of Michigan, but again, we're talking about mostly light amounts here with no accumulation expected across parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. The other thing I want you to notice here is as the sun rises, we can see the Missouri River Valley pretty prominently here across parts of Nebraska and Iowa, and that's because this area looks a lot like this. We are starting the flood threat that we've talked about here over the last couple of weeks. If you've been watching Eric and I, our videos here, we've been talking about how, if we have to point to any kind of alarm bells going off for the spring weather forecast, it looks like we'll be dealing with some flooding in a lot of different areas here. If we take a look at the flood stages here, there you see it, the Missouri River Valley standing out there with the pink and purple colors across Nebraska and Iowa, where they are getting underway with the flood risk there. Same thing as you head into parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley across the borders there between Illinois, Missouri, and Iowa. And then I think it's just a matter of time then before we start talking about the flood risk in parts of the northern plains, because we got a lot of snow to melt up there. If we look at the snow water equivalent, if we melt down all the snow on the ground right now over the upper Midwest and the northern plains, how much rainwater or liquid water you would end up with. And again, across parts of the upper Midwest, say Wisconsin, Minnesota, the northern plains, the Dakotas there, we've got anywhere from 5 to 20 inches of liquid water. That's the equivalent here. If we start melting this snow then over the next couple of weeks, that's, even though we're moving to a dry pattern, that's another 5 to 20 inches of liquid that's going to be going into the soil, running off, and going into some of these river valleys here. So I think this is just the beginning of it here as we talk about the flood risk across not just the upper Midwest here and the northern plains, but parts of the Tennessee Valley and the Mid-South as well, due to all the rainfall that we've seen here. If we look at the total precipitation rank here by climate districts, and we're looking at the year-to-date here, so from January 1st to the 14th of March, it's been the wettest that period has ever been across parts of Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota there, even part of North Dakota. But across the board here, near the top here, certainly at least the top 20 or top 10 in parts of the upper Midwest and the mid-Mississippi Valley here, wettest period here. So just a lot of rain, a lot of snow, and just a lot of liquid that's going to be going into the soil and the rivers here as we head to the spring. And even here in central Illinois, where it's been, we certainly aren't even near the top in some of these regions here as far as how wet it's been. But This is a video that I shot here in Champaign County of a cornfield here that's got a ton of standing water, and then of course we had 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, so we had waves over there on the cornfields here. So it looks like a frustrating start to the spring as we start looking at getting closer to the planting season. But again, the good news, if we look at total precipitation anomaly, the forecast here going all the way to the 27th of March, so about the next 2 weeks, and it looks dry across almost the entire country. Not totally dry, but drier than average just about everywhere except South Florida and part of the desert southwest there. If we look at the reason why there, we can take a look at the jet stream. You start off with the trough of low pressure that's left over here, the remnants of our big storm system. That's going to begin to move off to the east, or continue to move off to the east, and then we're going to slowly build a ridge over the central U.S. We'll let this play out here. And what that does is it brings an end to the very active storm system, or the storm pattern there with the frequent storm systems traveling across the central U.S. It's also going to bring in some warmer weather. So, it might not be a great situation right now, and it may not be perfect heading into the spring, but at least the next 10 to 14 days look a little bit drier as we end the month of March, and trending back towards warmer. We're cooler again here behind that storm system. Will be warming up as we head through the next week or so. We can play out the precipitation type forecast, and we'll see that here. Here is the remnants of the big storm system moving off to the east. We may see a little storm system come through on Wednesday that might bring some light precipitation to parts of the central Corn Belt. Details are a bit unclear on that one, but overall, you look at the next week or so, this gets us all the way to Friday of next week. So for the next week, looking pretty quiet across the Corn Belt. Total precipitation forecast then from the European model. This is again going through Wednesday of next week. And there you see the very light precipitation. Parts of the eastern Corn Belt there, a lot of that in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. That's coming from today. That's some of that light snow and light rain that's moving through the area. And then you see the precipitation over Kansas and Missouri and southern Illinois. And that's that potential little wave moving through on Wednesday. But overall, we look at the northern plains and the upper Midwest finally getting a break. Same thing goes for the mid-south there, without any major storm systems coming through, getting a little bit of a break from the heavy rain. And then certainly, as we look at just this weekend, this is going through to Monday morning. You see some of that light precip over the eastern Corn Belt, but otherwise dry for the weekend across much of the Corn Belt, and warming back up. We saw a cold front go through yesterday. Typically, the last few weeks, I should say, not typically, but over the last month or so, we've had these cold fronts go through, and it knocks us down in the single digits or worse if you live in the northern plains. And here we are behind a big storm system, and we're only in the 30s and the 40s across much of the Corn Belt, and warming up as we head through the weekend. Here's your Friday. Hey, temperatures Sunday. We're already getting back into the 50s across much of say Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, southern Illinois, and then warmer still as we head into midweek. Here would be your Tuesday forecast. Those 50s becoming more widespread across the Corn Belt. Warmer still as you head into the day on Wednesday. Now, I'm going to end here by reminding you, if you haven't already, go to nutrienagsolutions.com. I think it auto-populates that but if you want to go to my.nutrienagsolutions.com, create an account there. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to be a Nutrien customer. You just need an email address and a password, and that's going to get you access to the Weather Story platform, where you'll find all of these videos and more. That's where Eric and I are working hard this spring, creating new content. You can find it all there, clicking on Weather Story, and there you see it. As always, Eric's going to have a much deeper analysis of the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Sunday morning ag forecast video, and then I'll have your next Corn Belt regional forecast for you right here on Tuesday. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you on Tuesday.